We project our experience of the love we had from our earthly families that were far from perfect onto God. So then we don't always feel that same. Carine, just remember one thing. You are more than your circumstances. And then he said to me who I am. And he just reminded me that at the core, Carine, your identity is you are somebody that obeys God's voice. When we want to try and control outcomes, so we fight with certainty. Yes. We want to know, how's it going to be? How's it going to work out? What's going to come next? And life is uncertain. We have no idea what is going to happen next year, next month, tomorrow, or even in an hour's time.
Welcome to Unfiltered Fruits. And today, on Unfiltered Fruits, I am thrilled to have Carine with me, a powerhouse of wisdom, heart, and coaching magic. With a background in economics, psychology, and business, plus a stack of coaching certifications, she's all about emotional health, spiritual growth, and making leadership real and relatable. She's originally from South Africa and proudly Swiss. Carine loves hanging out with her family, friends, usually somewhere with delicious food, because who doesn't bond over good food? Welcome!
Hi, Elvire.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I am really excited to have you today. From the moment we've met towards a leadership event, no, an entrepreneurial event actually. We hadn't even talked, but we saw each other, and from there it's just been a series of, I would say for me, insightful and wise conversation, and you've brought me to conversation that I was not aware we could go so deep. And now that we are in this journey with Unfiltered Fruits, to discover what's the journey of becoming, I thought you would be a perfect person to be on the podcast, because you bring something so unique, and I'm not gonna say so much, so that people can also be surprised and blessed by it. But I'm truly looking forward to the conversation, so that many can also be blessed by what we're gonna discuss today.
I'm also looking forward.
So I want you to feel comfortable. We're having a chat. If there's anything you want also to ask me, there's no specific protocols. We're just having a conversation, and also allowing the Holy Spirit to lead us if there is something that is sparkling in our hearts. And in order to set the tone, like a warm tone to our conversation, I would like to ask you, how's your soul today? And if you could describe me in terms of weather forecast, how would you describe it?
I like the fact that you ask in terms of weather forecast, because those who know me know I am an obsessive weather forecast checker. I need to know what the weather is, and everybody in my house will always ask me what the prediction is going to be. That's a tip for South Africans trying to survive in Switzerland. Anyway, on a more serious note, I would say today my soul is a fresh spring day that maybe started off a little bit cloudy, just like today started, even though it's autumn's winter here. And I just feel that vibrancy of the fresh green leaves coming out here and there, though there's still some remnants of some old leaves from the previous season that is still around. But I would say that would be my soul's weather forecast for the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you would so in terms of with your weather forecasts, is there a way how you could, is there something we could link to, maybe a quote or a verse that is carrying you in that weather forecast?
I see weather forecasts change daily, sometimes hour by hour. So I would say for me, a word that has been sustaining me through every season, whether it's summer, winter, autumn, spring, has been the verse in Genesis where God spoke to Abram and he was saying to him, Abram, you do not need to fear because I am your faithful shield and I am your exceedingly great reward. And I think that has just been a verse that has come and gone over the past 2 decades, really, in my journey here in Geneva. That always underpins, doesn't matter what the daily weather looks like.
And in your journey of, because you're an ontological coach, personally in your journey yourself, has there been a recent moment where God has been coaching you in the season that you are right now?
I would say, Elvire, a very recent coaching moment was where I just hear the Lord speaking to me while I was in the subway in New York City 2 weeks ago. I was about to meet a new friend for dinner. And you know how it is, when you're on your way to an appointment and you sort of have your thoughts and little conversations in your head, like internal conversations of maybe what you're going to talk about, etc. And I just strongly felt the Holy Spirit just interjected my thoughts and say, Carine, just remember one thing. You are more than your circumstances. And then he said to me who I am. And he just reminded me that at the core, Carine, your identity is you are somebody that obeys God's voice. And that for me was such a powerful shift when I just heard God's voice yet again, and he just adjusted my perspective for me.
So would you say that adjustment then helped you to be more present as you were on your way to meet your friend?
Absolutely. And it just shifted my perspective. And we know that's what ontological coaching is about. It's all about being able to see ourselves differently, seeing our circumstances differently. And in that moment, the Lord was just reminding me that your perspective got a little sidetracked by circumstances instead of who I am in my identity. And that was just a powerful yet very subtle moment where God coached me recently. Yeah.
And to dive more into that, have you always been aware of seeing things differently? What has led you to be interested about personal development, leadership, ontological coaching? Was it something that evident from you from your journey, or is it through time that it has become more clear for you?
I would say my life calling has always been to help people grow. Even back in the days when I was in banking, I wanted to help people. The reason I studied a commercial degree was to do industrial psychology, which was people-focused. Even in banking, for me, it was always more about the people than about the transactions. And then just transformation became more and more important for me. I was involved in transformational strategic projects back in the days when I was still in the corporate world. And then I got a very strong call to be set apart for God's work. And that's basically what I did for 20 years. And that really was all about developing people, walking alongside them as they are being transformed, hence becoming who they were truly called and designed to be. This little shift with ontological coaching actually came, I would say, started around about 2018 when a lady that some of you might know called Sarah Appia, she's a PCC professional coach and a follower of Christ as well. And she recommended to me to do a John Maxwell coaching course. And I never thought I'll be a coach. I thought I'm more of a mentor and a counselor. I did it, absolutely loved it. And then it started to become very clear where God was just giving me these little hints through words I received, through dreams that I had, very specific ones in an amazing way, making it clear to me that coaching is really something that He would like me to explore. And then during COVID, we were all on Zooms listening to online podcasts and things like that. I discovered Dr. Mark Chirona. So he is a doctor in future studies and phenomenology in the USA. He has a church in Orlando, Florida, if I'm correct. And he is a qualified ontological coach. And I listened to some of his free podcasts, Zoom sessions back during COVID and just after. And I was fascinated with the way he brought together the whole way of being language of ontological coaching and the spiritual, prophetic, pastoral work. And I was like, that is what I want to do. So for a year or two, I thought about it, and I was looking at a place, where could I study this? And then I think, I couldn't find something immediately, and I forgot about it. And then it came back very strongly when I realized that God was showing me that my seasons are shifting and even my assignments. So I found the Ontological Coaching Institute in Australia, who had also a branch in South Africa, and I pursued the qualification, and I have absolutely loved it.
Because honestly, personally, I got to be more aware of it because of you. And I'm wondering if it's is it a very common is it very common to have ontological coaching? Because I've through my life I've heard a lot about coaching, but the ontological part, which is about being, and how it's focusing more on the transformative part more than just doing and being strategic. I'm wondering if is it something that is recent and is more, I would say, interesting and important for the way the world is moving now with everything that has been happening, COVID, because maybe that's from our perspective, but coaching was, okay, you understand your goals, you get the results, and you move. But with all the experience that we've been going through in the world, there's anxiety, there is stress, there is burnout, and maybe it wasn't expressed like that before, but there's a high increase of it, which made me also question more. So then that means that we need to look at ourselves more internally and transform so that we can be better people. So I'm wondering, because as you're speaking, it looks like it's so evident, but was it evident to find even the niche of ontological coaching?
I think ontological coaching chose me. But I want to just come back to what you said about the changing times, and even I want to add to that the rate of change that we are going through. And I think from that perspective, I am so thankful that I discovered this branch of coaching. I know it is increasingly acknowledged as one of the most effective and profound, deep forms of coaching. I think there's a place for every type of coaching, of course. But given the times that we are in and the rate of change means that we need to adapt and adjust so quickly that if we only focus on doing things differently, we will get overwhelmed. Where ontological coaching works on what we call ontological security, which we in Christian terms would call our identity. That we feel secure in who we are and that we understand ourselves really well. And the thing that ontological coaching help with is it's a generative process of observing ourselves in 3 domains, which is language, mood and emotion, and then our bodies. And then once we start to notice things, we can start to make subtle shifts because we now, for the first time, have the distinctions to recognize it. And once we do that, we start to learn about ourselves and our circumstances. And we observe it, and we start to see it differently. And then basically a process of generative learning takes place. And once we learn to learn, we are best served and positioned to navigate the changing times we're in. So it's not about what do I need to do, it is more about how can I learn to learn so that in whatever circumstance I find myself, I would be able to adjust. And that brings that deep security that we really all need in terms of who we are, and also giving us that resilience that we can adapt and we can change.
And what you're saying, is there any because change is not always easy depending on the season that we are there any limiting beliefs that you see through people and through their leadership as they expect themselves to grow, and that is preventing them from embracing the transformative process?
Oh, I think that's a really, really good question, Elvire. I would say one of the most limiting beliefs that we have is that we expect ourselves to know already. We say to ourselves, I should know this. I should have done better. So we put this high expectation on ourselves, and often underneath that is a core belief that we are not enough, and maybe we're not capable of doing it, and those become very, very limiting beliefs. And a very subtle shift is if we can just say, another limiting belief that I want to add on is we judge ourselves, oh, I'm good at it or I'm bad at it. And instead of doing that, rather to say, I'm a beginner. Like today, I'm a beginner. I've never done a podcast before. Does that take anything away from my value? No. But as it comes to being on a podcast, today I'm a beginner. And immediately that opens up a better space for me to show up in a less anxious way and to be playful and at peace. And I would say another limiting belief is when we want to try and control outcomes, so we fight with certainty.
Yes.
We want to know, how's it going to be? How's it going to work out? What's going to come next? And life is uncertain. We have no idea what is going to happen next year, next month, tomorrow, or even in an hour's time. And there, from an ontological perspective, we would say, okay, so how can we shift that mood? Because when we fight uncertainty, we're always anxious.
So that means that we should. It's interesting what you just said, because I just thought about the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
We can't force the shift of the fruit. It's just it has to go through the process,
Yes.
and we have to embrace the process.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that because we want too much certainty on the next step, then we are creating anxiety and stress upon ourselves.
Yes. In response, I would like to say two things. The first thing is, if we then accept, it is going to be uncertain, we have no idea what the outcome's going to be, but how about I approach it from a place of wonder or curiosity? I wonder how today's going to work out. I wonder how this project's going to work out. I'm curious to see how that's going to develop. That's a complete different mindset that opens us up to different possibilities. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, it reminds me when you said we need to wait for the fruit. I remember when I arrived in Geneva, I knew that was the right thing to do. It is God's will for our lives. And I was ready to bear fruit and, make a difference.
Yes.
And one of my mentors back in South Africa said to me, Carine, you cannot staple on fruit on a tree like you staple on paper, on whatever.
Yeah.
And it was such a profound piece of wisdom. Fruit grows, and fruit is an outcome of a healthy tree. An apple tree that is healthy will produce apples.
Yes. Oh, that's so true.
A healthy olive tree will produce, in the right season, olives. So, that's where timing is important. Trusting who we truly are in terms of identity. Honoring seasons. We can't expect an olive tree to bear olives out of season. Unless, of course, when we get to the biblical fruits, trees that bore fruit in every season.
Yeah.
But that is something completely different.
Because as I'm listening to you, and we've been talking at the beginning how there's a rapid increase of I would say transition or expectations of results happening, and as you were talking about identity, and if we're talking that in terms of spiritual growth, is it that my question is, what can allow us to be deeply rooted in our identity in order to be?
Knowing ourselves truly. Really taking time to spend time with ourselves the way we spend time with our families, with our friends, to really sit and listen to our deep inner voice, to listen to our desires, to listen to our passions, to listen to our thinking, to our emotions, and to really get to know ourselves. That I would say is really important. Of course, for us as believers, knowing who we are to the Lord from a scriptural perspective, but also in our relationship with Him. The Father is always busy affirming our identity. So whenever we hear the Father's voice, we hear Him saying, this is who you are, this is who you are, this is who you are. And then, sorry, just to add a last component, we don't live in isolation. Our identity only has significance in, as we relate with one another. So that's where our friends, our mentors, our family, also help us truly understand who we are.
Because I was gonna ask, because you spoke briefly about how you went from banking to then being in the church and then being led into coaching. Was it easy? Because listening to you, it looks like it was an, I don't want to say easy journey, but that it was something you just had to follow. But how did you manage to go through those different seasons in order to be able to really recognize what is for you, that you didn't even know that it was for you? Because not everyone gets to really find what is for them. We can be doing things, but it doesn't mean that we see that it's speaking to our being. And I believe it's much more complex. So it would be interesting to maybe have some practical example or events that helped you to navigate in order for you to reach where you are right now. And of course, you're still in the journey of becoming, but what are the practical steps or advice of wisdom that you would be able to share so that it could help even the listeners to be like, okay, I'm hearing, but what are the steps or what are the hints that can help me to be sure that I'm walking in the right path, if I may say.
Walking in the right path, I would take with a little bit of salt, because the Lord is like a GPS. He will always reroute you. If we lose the way, He will just find another way to get us to the destination. And I think that is an assurance we have, that we have a very loving, patient Father. And we have the Holy Spirit, who is the one walking alongside us always, whether we recognize it or not. I would say it is really wonderful when we can hear God for ourselves. Because for me, He has spoken to me very clearly. Walk this way. Walk this way. This season is starting. This season is ending. But of course, behind that, we need that willingness to be quiet, to discern the Lord's voice in our lives. And then I think another way to recognize these type of shifts is where we realize that things aren't working the way it used to work. I often use the expression, it almost feels like the grace has lifted.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that when I'm in full assignment, in a flourishing season, in a season, I have the energy, I have the vision, I have the focus, I have the grace to do it fully, joyfully. And then when the seasons shift, either I do not have so much vision for it any longer, or it's becoming way more tiring than before, or I find myself thinking about a next season already. So those are all indicators that seasons are changing. And then for me, I think it's very important to have people around you that love you so much that they will speak the truth to you.
Yes.
And they will help discern. For me personally, as having those few people who really walk in deep prayer, to help discern, because that is where a spirit of discernment is also important.
Yes,
And I'm thankful that I have those people in my life. I would say those are all ways to recognize silence, solitude, connection. And then the promises of God, sometimes He gives us guiding words, whether it's a prophetic word, whether it's a dream, whether it's a verse that speaks to us, whatever. We just know that is where we're moving towards. If I'm correct, the fact that you are hosting this podcast was on strength of a word you received.
Yes.
Would you maybe want to share a bit about that if you haven't done so already?
It's true. I was sensing personally that it was time for something, but I didn't know what it was. And to be sure, I asked the Lord, I said, is there something I'm supposed to be aware of the season that I am now? And if not, then I will continue to walk the way you're telling me to walk. And that's when He shared the word that it was time to speak. But even then, I was still doubting. And later on, it's true with what you're saying, I received words of prophecy and confirmations. And not because I received the confirmation, but it spoke to my heart, and the conviction was so strong that it was beyond me.
Yeah.
So I knew it was time to do it. How? Not necessarily, but the conviction was so clear. And there are words that you said, solitude, silence, and listening are elements that I had to practice more and more in order to be able to hear. Because sometimes we think we hear, but we have so much distraction. But there's so many things that you have to remove in order to hear clearly and to have the discernment. Because sometimes our discernment can even come from our own trauma or emotions. So what you're saying, it's definitely speaking to me, and it's something that I'm walking into now, and I'm still learning to discover. So I wanted to emphasize on that, because we usually see the big picture from outside, but we don't necessarily know what was happening in the background. And I think everybody, it gets unlocked differently, but the process is the same.
Yes. Yeah, I would say. And I want to almost go back also, just for the sake of everybody listening, transitions and shifts sometimes are very unexpected. I did not expect a shift. And you ask me, is it easy? I don't believe it's easy always, because we are creatures of habit. That which we know,
That's true.
what we're comfortable with, we like that.
Yeah.
But when we are invited to a transition or a new season, or even if we choose it, it feels very disorientating sometimes. It can feel very uncomfortable. But I think that is all a part of the process. It's part of the learning of something new, of becoming something more, of expansion, which we didn't have before. I think it's important that we remember that true growth always happens when we are just outside our comfort zone.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And we have to be in the discomfort, and we have to actually welcome and embrace that discomfort in order to grow stronger in the person that we are.
Yes. But then sometimes our personalities are very different. You get some people who love change and love moving fast, and they would just push themselves even beyond their comfort zone. and think, oh, but then they'll grow more. But that's when they can run into trouble because maybe they've gone just a little bit too fast. But then you get some, and I would say I'm definitely one of this, that where I would rather hold back to be more cautious. But then we don't grow enough. So we try to protect our comfort zone, or we think we need to learn more before we can step out, etc. And that's where we need to also know ourselves. What is our natural inclination? Are you on the cautious side? And you sort of need to really disrupt yourself to get out of your comfort zone? Or are you one of those who are constantly walking so far out of your comfort zone that it's not good for your soul and your body? And then to learn to just go a little bit slower. So we all design differently. So I would say those indicators would look different for each of us.
Yeah, yes. And to link that to leadership, then would you say that by being more a transformative leader, then we can lead people better? We can better see how we're supposed to lead others, because in the world that we live, leadership, it's about achievement, the strategy, the KPIs, what you've shown. However, you're also leading people, and as you're leading people, there's also transitions happening. And I'm not saying that doing is wrong.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But more that with the fact that so many events are happening in the world right now, that being could, if I may say, could elevate maybe more how we're leading people and how we're also serving the people that we are leading.
As a leader, our being is critical, because our being is what sets the tone, it sets the culture, it's what we model. I honestly do not believe we can lead people anywhere where we've not been ourselves as it comes to transformation. I think there is a principle by John Maxwell that it's called the leader's lid, that the level in which we operate, even in our being, that's the level where we cap the growth of those around us. I think that is why collaborative leadership is so important, why mentoring and coaching for leaders is so important, to truly make time for those reflective conversations, those conversations for learning, conversations for possibilities of what could be changed. I think as a leader, these things are really, really important.
And would you say that those practices are being used in nowadays, or has leadership changed?
I think these things are being used, but maybe not as widely as we think, or as widely as it could be. I think if we as leaders would take time away from doing to have a good health check, health check of our own souls, health check of our own leadership, health check of our teams, of our organization, of our family, whatever system it is that we are leading, I believe we could ensure greater fruitfulness, greater sustainability. I think it will unlock way more creativity, and even ownership within teams, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, definitely. I agree because I mean with what we're seeing in the world, the shaking that is happening, leadership is quite different now,
Yes.
and we can all have different opinions. But it looks like the foundations are a bit blurry, and to find the truth about it it's quite challenging because you hear so much. I mean, there's so many different informations that you have to be quite careful and discerning um, in what is true leadership. And I also personally always listen to John Maxwell because they've seen so many different transitions and how people behavior are changing that you're realizing that there's certain things that have gotten lost as we have been evolving, especially with technology, where we don't connect as we used to connect.
Yes.
So even leadership has changed, and the way we serve people also has changed because of the way we've been impacted.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say we cannot afford, in these rapidly changing times where lines are blurring and there's so much uncertainty, we cannot afford not to take the time out to get clarity with ourselves, get clarity within our leadership teams as to what is our assignment, and to have that shared understanding. I once heard God say to me, don't focus so much on building structures, rather focus on building relationships. Because when we truly have connected, trusting relationships, we can always move and change with the times. Where if we so focus on having our structures, organizational structures and things right, that can be brittle because that can be broken in a disruptive time easily.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah. So I would say, and I would encourage all of us to take time to get clarity. And that only comes through conversation, whether it's a conversation with ourselves, a conversation between ourselves and God, conversation with the people we work with our leadership team. It is really important.
So if it's clarity, what's preventing us from looking for that clarity? If by stepping out and listening to ourselves and trying to be in community and trusting, what is preventing us from doing that?
I would guess pressure to perform. Maybe a belief that we think we are too busy to take time out to have a strategic session or a reflective conversation, taking time out to maybe learn a different skill or to grow ourselves in a certain area because we think our schedule is full already. I would say those are things, but it starts with managing ourselves. And so I would say another component there is not to look out just outside, but to always start with ourselves, because we cannot bring any change unless that change starts in us. And as we shift and grow and change, any system that we are part of then automatically adjusts and shifts and changes with us.
And that shift, that change within us, would you say that it's being also, no, it's not would you, it is also being led by the Lord?
Absolutely.
And does it mean that it's also a quiet and personal time that we are having with him, that we will have like revelation and understanding on how we're supposed to walk?
I think it's absolutely key, Elvire. I mean, Jesus modeled to us in the Gospels that he would serve and he would absolutely live out his assignment that he got from the Father. But then he would, even in very busy times, he would retreat. He would go and pray on the mountain, or he would tell the disciples, you go on, I'm going to stay here. He absolutely modeled for us what it meant to always come back to the person who gave us our assignment and our calling in the first place, and to check in and to receive their wisdom and understanding and clarity and strategy for what comes next. So we can just look at the life of Jesus, and there we have our example. And it's often our own anxiety that makes us keep on doing.
No, that's I'm asking that because it's not always clear how you're supposed to merge both your spiritual journey and how you're walking in the world, and having that understanding that you should be walking with both at the same time and not separately, and how as you say, there's so much example in the Word of God on how to do it, but it's just that in practice it's not always easy.
I would say,
Or it's not always evident that, like as you say, the example when he went to the mountain, just like, oh, that's true, he retrieved himself to be able to hear better, and then he came back. But those revelations, it has to come from him and his spirit for you to understand how you're supposed to do it in your own life as well.
yeah, I would say that it's not for us to merge sort of our life with the Lord and what we do. It is already one, because he lives inside of us. Any relationship we have, whether it's with the Lord or with one another, is part of our being. And wherever we go, we take our being. So it's already integrated. I think the issue comes, we think in a dualistic way. We think, oh no, this is my time with the Lord, this is spiritual, and this is not. It's all completely integrated. It is just our perspective that sometimes we create that split. I think we can hear the Lord equally well in a conversation. He can give us just such a profound revelation as when we're alone with him, or we go up the mountain, as we would say proverbially. It's all about, I would say, perspective of being open and aware that he can speak to us whenever, however. There I could almost recommend, to train our senses, to listen for his voice and for his movement as we move throughout the day. And I mean, the ancient church fathers taught us, that prayer of Examen. I don't know if you know it.
No.
It's just a prayer at the end of the day where we just bring our whole day before God, and we ask him, show me, when did you speak to me today that I wasn't aware of? And so we reflect on our whole day, and we learn to recognize. So we train our natural and spiritual senses to discern, where did you hear him? And I think it's in the Catholic and in the Anglican traditions where they talk about consolation and desolation. Consolation is where something happens and it draws us closer to our awareness of Him. Desolation is something happens that might be very good or profitable or whatever, but it's desolation. It takes us further away from Him. So that practice of the prayer of Examen teaches us to recognize the movements of our soul and the movements of the Spirit, whether it's closer to the Lord or further away. And that way we start to live in an integrated way in our being.
Yes. And this is really, thank you for sharing that, because we can go through our day and then pray, but not necessarily be aware that He has been already speaking to us, that they are trying to show us something through someone, through nature, through a conversation. And that awareness of stopping and asking, I believe, is really powerful, because we start seeing things that we were not aware that we could see. But at the same time, it pushes us to get closer to Him. And as you said, that we are the one separating things, but it's already one, you know. And I've been doing that, and I've been seeing things differently just by asking that question. I don't know how, but it does appear differently. You know, you do get revelations or start connecting things together, instead of just walking without being conscious that maybe something is being shown in front of us.
Yeah, it's all about being able to see, about recognizing.
But being able to see, it looks like it's an easy concept, but it is not, because what we see can also be determined by our own conviction,
Absolutely.
our tradition, our culture. So differentiating the truth about what we see. I don't know what's your thought, but
And what we recognize.
Exactly, because even what we recognize, what is it based on? As well. And that would be interesting to hear from you. Like, even when we see and recognize, are there steps that we should do to check that what we are seeing and recognizing is from a, if I may say, a healthy perspective?
I always find it difficult to think in terms of steps.
Okay.
I think as we grow in maturity, whether it's emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, relational maturity, we gain wisdom. So we learn to recognize, even in our growth emotionally, we learn to recognize our own voice, because at first our parents' voice is so loud that those narratives would be the one that dictate all the time. And then we start to hear our own voice, but we don't really recognize that, oh, this is actually the true me that is growing up. And then, we get to a place where we need, in psychology it's called a differentiation. That's when we learn to differentiate ourselves as a self, as a self apart from our family, as a self that is responsible for our own life, that might look exactly the same or a little different or a lot different from our family of origin. That's all part of a growth process of differentiating who we are. And we can't truly live in any healthy way unless we've allowed ourselves to find our boundaries for ourselves. And that's part of growing up. And that can happen in your 20s, it can happen in your 30s, 40s, 50s. It doesn't matter. It all depends, when we are ready to take that step of self-differentiation. And it's only when we are truly understand that we are a separate self and that we are not one with our family of origin, we are not one with this grouping of people, or it's not just all God's will and nothing about who I am. It's only once we understand that I am a self that give myself in relationship to another person, or even give myself in relationship to God, that real loving, free interaction can take place.
But of course, this takes a lot of intentionality in order to get there. It doesn't just happen, because as I was listening to you, I was thinking, you have 2 daughters. Would you say that with your 2 teenage daughters, it has also impacted in how you do coaching and how you also navigate your journey of becoming?
Oh, having children is a sure way of being invited into a journey of transformation. From the day both of them were born, their separate lives, and this will make me tearful, has shaped me, because it has confronted me with my limitations as a human being and as a mother, and the way they were created. And if you know my girls, they are so separate, so different. Each of their lives and the way they grew up has taught me so much and has contributed hugely to my development and my growth and my becoming. And then, of course, and now that I've got young adult children, I have to say, even more so, that journey has, I would say, over the past 5 years, radically transformed how I see things and understand some of the very things I mentor other people through, and that I coach, and the way I encourage people.
And when you say radically, is it that you started realizing that it was different, or is it that it triggered something within you which has led you to look at it differently?
I think children have a wonderful way of showing us our pride.
Because they don't have children yet. So
we always think we're going to do a marvelous job, or we think we're going to do it better than maybe some other people, or whatever. And then we realize, oh, but I've messed up here. I need to apologize. The children can be a wonderful mirror for us and showing our own blind spots. And that can be, we can either use our parental authority and power to dismiss it and not deal with it and get the children to adjust, or we can say, oh dear, I need to grow here. I need to repent. I need to repair a disconnection. And for me, I can honestly say that has been like that always. And I would say, especially over the past 5 years, I really found some parts of the differentiating process as our girls became their own person. I found that very difficult. But God gave me fantastic advice. And he said to me 2 things, and it really was very helpful. He said, humble yourself and love unconditionally. And that really, and in the humble ourselves is when we take responsibility for our own shortcomings and blind spots, and allow him to work on that, and even humble ourselves in relationship, and then to love unconditionally. We always think we love unconditionally until something looks a little different than we thought.
Yes.
So, yeah, but I would say those are two great principles to live by, irrespective where we are in life, with children, without children, whatever stage of life they are in, we are in, whatever transition we are in life.
Thank you for sharing. That was really insightful. Because it's true that in a journey of becoming this ourselves, but as soon as we, for those who have children, it's you continue to become, and it's even more, I would say, triggered by your children. I mean, from what I've heard through friends, and it's really good to have your perspective, and especially as a coach, that you also feel you also challenged to have to ask yourself those questions. Actually, we always have to ask ourselves those questions. It never ends, no matter our position in life. It never. It's a constant. It's the constant thing. But what I find fascinating is that you always, even if it's challenging, you're always inviting it. And I think as human being, I think it depends on us to invite, to accept that invitation of, this looks different, this is triggering me, what it means, and to allow ourselves to dive deeper, because sometimes we fear it can be challenging to even dive in those areas. Not that we don't want to be transformed, but there's sometimes some pains, and even our body can experience.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely. Our body
Yes.
really keeps it in every fiber of our being. We embody everything that happened to us. In ontological coaching, we talk about when we had an insult to our structure. That is how our bodies can keep the trauma. It remembers it, even if in our minds and in our emotions we can't remember it. Our bodies keep it. It's definitely there. I just want to say, as it comes to inviting change and growth and things, I think we have two choices. Either we move backwards and die, and that for me is far worse, and become resentful and bitter.
Yes.
It's far worse than the discomfort of growing.
Yeah, but we don't. I mean, do you think that we always? Because I would say for myself, it's always in the discomfort that I have grown, and that I've been forced to redefine what is really happening, what's the truth about it, and if what I'm seeing, am I seeing it from a trauma, or from a painful a pain, or from hurt? And I don't think it's always evident to even think like that, because we have our ego, and how we were raised, that this is the truth. So even to acknowledge that it is not right, it's acknowledging that what we've been told might not be the complete truth.
That's what growing up's all about, my dear.
So, and depending on the journey of where the person is at, you can't force someone to be
No.
in that journey.
Absolutely not. And we need to be very loving and accepting of other people's journeys. The fact that you and I managed to realize this part of the journey doesn't mean somebody else is there. Somebody else might be years ahead on the growth journey than us, but it doesn't make them more than us. We all have our own journey. And I was thinking about it just a little while back as you were speaking. I don't think this growth journey feels safe unless we understand how much God loves us.
That's so true.
I think from my own life, there was a time when God started to really show me how much He really loved me. Before that, I just wanted to perform for Him. And then I almost had a rebirth where I started to understand the love of God. That there is nothing I can do that can make Him love me less or more. That there's nowhere I can go. No height, no depth, no width, not angels or demons, not whatever, as it says in Romans 8. And I think often God in His kindness and in His gentleness, Holy Spirit is gentle, won't take us into something before we feel that safety. And I think that is a principle that psychologists, counselors, and coaches need to heed. That unless somebody feels truly safe, it will be very difficult for them to do something very courageous or to dive into something really painful or try something new and be willing to fail because suddenly my identity is not whether I'm a success or a failure, but way deeper than that.
Yes, thank you for what you just said, because I thought it was obvious, but I've noticed even myself personally that because I'm more aware of His love, the boldness even has grown.
Yes, of course.
It's not ego, but you're starting to be deeply rooted.
Courage.
Yes, exactly. It's courage. Yes.
It's more. You've got more heart. As you would say in French.
Like, and it completely shifts the way you see things. I would say the love changes everything. And of course, at times it's you're still challenged because His love is so different from how the world is telling us that love is. However, once you start stepping into that, you want more of it. You want, because it frees you as well. So, thank you for sharing that, because it's an element that we don't always think about. But if you're not feeling safe, and especially if we've been through certain circumstances, we will not know that it's actually the fact that we're feeling unsafe that is not allowing us to proceed. We could even go deeper.
Yes.
We could even go deeper, because they are. We could even go deeper about this, because each of us, there's something that we find ourselves unsafe about. If it's, let's say, the job, which is going to allow us to be able to provide for when we need to buy, or even our environment, or the fact that we don't know what's the future, so we feel unsafe. I mean, And I think especially in the timing that we are, there's so much uncertainty that is creating a space to feel unsafe.
Yes.
And I think as human being and even children of God, to be aware of where is us of safety, which is in Him, in order to allow us to I think start exploring and becoming.
Yes.
Because I don't know what's your opinion on that, but that you can walk in that journey of becoming if you don't know that you're safe.
From a spiritual perspective, I'm seeing this picture of a dad just releasing the toddler to say, go grab the ball, you can do it. That is what it's like with Father God, to really know God's love. But the thing is, for some of us, that is really hard to understand because we project our experience of the love we had from our earthly families that were far from perfect onto God. So then we don't always feel that safe. And another thing, Elvire, when we in our bodies do not feel safe, when we in fight or flight or freeze state, we cannot access in our bodies that knowledge of God's love. And often that makes us feel bad about ourselves. So there's this one Christian psychologist that I think the world of. It's Dr. Margaret Najib. And she has taught us that we first need to regulate our nervous system. And in ontological coaching, that is a huge part of the work we do. Where we work with our bodies, we work with our posture, we work with our breathing. And these are ways where we can realize, I am in survival mode here. So my nervous system is not in a restful, peaceful state. So through breathing and things to calm down our brain. And also when we feel truly unsafe and threatened, the neuroscientists teach us, then our thinking part of our brain goes offline. And our amygdala, so we just have all these automatic responses. That's where all the vagus nerve work comes in as well. So, for us to have an awareness of how we can work with our own bodies, and we all have different nervous systems, so that we can regulate ourselves and then connect to the love of God, which we know is inside of us, and then to move from that place.
There's a question that I had for you, you're not just a coach, but you have so much more about your background. If you have to give to someone a gift as a book, what is usually your... I would be curious to hear, what is usually your first, like the book that comes in mind that you're like, I want to give it as a gift to someone? Because I know, for instance, personally, I have a friend who gave me a journaling book, and she loves to do that, and it speaks a lot to who she is as well. So I'd be curious to know who Carine is. What is the book that you will... Let's say if you had to give me a book, what would it be?
I love books.
Okay.
I've got hundreds and hundreds of books and a lot of digital books. There was a time where I very easily would hand out books or recommend books. I would say nowadays I refrain from that because I trust each person's journey. And I don't want to presume that I know what book you need, even though I would recommend books here and there, but I do it way less often than I used to. It is as if now that I'm a little older, I think I have more patience for people's own journeys instead of like, read this book, then you'll know everything and you will grow in this way or that way. You know, I think so. There was a bit of pride around that when I
That's
was younger.
interesting.
However, having said that,
Yeah.
through the decades, if I have to think, what is the book that I would still offer people? It would be The Prodigal Son by Henry Nouwen.
Okay.
And Henry Nouwen was a Catholic priest who wrote a book on the parable of the prodigal son, based on the painting by Rembrandt.
Okay.
And that painting is in St. Petersburg, in a museum there. So on the front of the book is the picture of the father.
Of the father,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That book, I think, is a classic.
Okay.
And I probably would be able to think of 10 more other
Yes.
books. But this was the first one.
This is the first one. Okay, I
that
don't know
came
about
to
these books.
mind.
I will check it out.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious, before your sessions, if you have with teams or organization or people, as a coach, is there, how do you prepare yourself, or is there a prayer that you do before you walk in it?
I don't think I have a specific one, but normally it would just be that the Holy Spirit would really guide me,
Oh, wow.
and that I'm willing to say whatever needs to be said, and that I would recognize truly what's going on, you know, to have true discernment. I would say that would be more or less that.
Amen. Well, that would be my last question. So if you could write one, I know it could be many, but if you could write one unfiltered caption about your life today, what would it be?
That's difficult.
I know, because it could be so many, but maybe something that is now speaking into your spirit.
I don't have the exact phrase, but there is one thought that comes to mind. And I think it speaks to my cautious nature. And that is that step up. Every time you've stepped up in the past, you rose to the occasion. I think that is what comes to mind. Yeah, and I can say that to everybody that is listening today. Yeah.
And that's true.
Yeah.
Because when you do, you do see more. And as we are closing, there's something that I've noticed every time we've met. You're always releasing me with blessings, and I've never seen anyone else doing that. And if you could, there are blessings that you would release to leaders or to people who are listening. I would just want to invite you to bless with what is speaking into your spirit now, and I do believe that those who will be listening will be blessed by it. Yeah.
So the word permission came immediately. I bless everyone listening to know that Father God gives them permission to be everything that they are, that they have expansive permission to discover themselves, to experiment, to get to know Him, to partner with Him. They have full permission. Because I think God trusts us more than we trust ourselves.
For sure, this definitely. Oh, thank you so much, Carine. Thank you Thank you. Thank you. It was such we went really deep, I would say.
You always say that.
No, because I mean I truly enjoy deep conversation, and I think, I mean, not necessarily with everyone, but if you can go to the core of who you are and be and receive wisdom and be enlightened, I think it's beautiful. I personally enjoy that. I'm not sure if it's the same for everyone, but thank you so much for opening up, for sharing. I do believe that it has blessed many, and I've been personally blessed and challenged as I was listening to you. And yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute delight.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Unfiltered Fruits. And if our conversation with Carine has sparkled something within you, we would love to hear your own testimony, your thoughts that you saw. We went very deep and we went in so many directions. And you can definitely reach out to us on social media channel. And if you have questions for Carine or myself, let's keep the conversation. Send us a message, put your comments, and do not forget to follow Unfiltered Fruits so you never miss a moment of honest, joyful, and challenging conversation about the journey of becoming. Remember, the journey isn't about perfect performance. It's about inviting Jesus in, making space, and letting his love flow freely. So let's keep your hearts open, your spirit curious, and as always, keep living unfiltered. See you next time.